America's abandoned buildings hide secrets darker than their crumbling walls. From asylums echoing with patient screams to hospitals where surgeries never ended, these structures trap souls who refuse to leave. Tonight, we explore 10 locations where the living dare not tread after dark, where footsteps echo through empty corridors and shadows move without bodies to cast them. 1. Pennhurst State School, Pennsylvania. Once housing thousands with mental disabilities, this institution closed in 1987 after decades of horrific abuse and neglect. Visitors report shadow figures in wheelchairs roaming the deteriorating halls, children's laughter echoing from empty rooms, and the sound of medical equipment still running in abandoned wards. The basement morgue remains the most active paranormal hotspot, with unexplained temperature drops and phantom voices calling for help. Ghost hunters regularly capture EVPs of former patients asking when they can finally go home. The tunnels beneath connect buildings where countless souls met their end, and staff report seeing figures in hospital gowns wandering the corridors at night, forever trapped in this house of horrors. 2. Rolling Hills Asylum, New York. Known as America's second most haunted location, this former poorhouse operated from 1827 to 1974, housing society's unwanted souls. Over 1,700 people died within these walls, including many innocent children who never saw freedom again. The most famous spirit is Shadow Man, a towering dark figure seen stalking the corridors, watching visitors with glowing eyes. Nurse Emmy's ghost still makes her nightly rounds, checking on patients who died decades ago. Visitors hear babies crying from the nursery ward that closed long ago, and phantom footsteps echo through the halls. The building's isolation rooms hold the most intense paranormal activity, where tortured souls scream for release that never comes. 3. Waverly Hills Sanatorium, in Kentucky. This tuberculosis hospital witnessed 63,000 deaths during its operation from 1910 to 1961, making it a graveyard disguised as a medical facility. The Body Chute Tunnel carried countless corpses to avoid public panic, and their spirits never left this underground passage of death. Room 522 is the epicenter of paranormal activity, where a nurse allegedly committed suicide after discovering her pregnancy. Visitors encounter the Creeper, a shadowy entity that crawls across ceilings like a human spider, and hear phantom coughing echoing through the halls. The hospital's morgue remains active with supernatural energy, where bodies were processed like factory goods. Former patients roam the wards, forever searching for the cure that never came to save them from this tuberculosis tomb. 4. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, West Virginia. Originally built for 250 patients, but housing over 2,000, 400 at its peak, this Gothic structure operated from 1864 to 1994 as a warehouse for society's forgotten souls. The asylum's overcrowding led to horrific conditions, experimental treatments, and countless deaths that stained these walls with suffering. Then, in 1887, a man named A.D. Welch. Paranormal investigators report aggressive spirits attacking visitors, including a 9-year-old girl named Lily, who died of pneumonia and now plays in the hallways. The Civil War section holds Confederate soldiers who never found peace, their battle cries echoing through the night. The building's basement holds the most intense activity, where lobotomies were performed and patients disappeared forever. Visitors experience phantom hands grabbing them, unexplained injuries, and the overwhelming sense of being watched by unseen eyes. 5. Eastern State Penitentiary, Philadelphia. This revolutionary prison introduced solitary confinement in 1829, driving countless inmates to madness and suicide within its stone walls. Al Capone was its most famous resident, and his cell remains a hotspot for paranormal activity, where his spirit allegedly still resides. Guards report shadowy figures lurking in the cells, disembodied laughter echoing through the cell blocks, and phantom hands grabbing unsuspecting visitors. The prison's isolation system created spirits trapped in eternal solitude, forever pacing their cells. Death Row holds the most intense supernatural activity, where executed inmates scream their innocence into the night. The prison's underground tunnels connect to a network of terror, where bodies were secretly disposed of and tortured souls wander seeking justice that never came. 6. Danvers State Hospital. Massachusetts, built on the cursed site of Salem witch trials, this Kirkbride-style asylum opened in 1878 as a monument to medical horrors. Known for pioneering the lobotomy procedure, it housed tortured patients until 1992, leaving behind decades of screams embedded in its walls. Though mostly demolished, the remaining buildings are intensely haunted by the spirits of lobotomy victims. Visitors report seeing patients in hospital gowns wandering the ruins, forever lost in their mental fog. The former shock therapy rooms echo with phantom screams, and the ghost of a nurse who died during a patient attack still walks the halls. The building's demolition scattered angry spirits throughout the surrounding area, making the entire neighborhood a supernatural battleground where the living face the wrath of the medical establishment's victims. 7. Eloise Psychiatric Hospital, Michigan. Operating from 1839 to 1984, this massive complex housed over 10,000 patients at its peak, becoming a city of the damned hidden from society's view. The hospital's underground tunnels connect buildings where countless souls met their end through neglect, abuse, and experimental treatments. Paranormal investigators document shadow figures stalking the tunnels, children's voices in the abandoned school where young patients were imprisoned, and the smell of ether in the former operating rooms. The cemetery holds 7,000 unmarked graves, a mass burial ground for society's forgotten. Visitors experience phantom medical procedures, hear patients screaming for help, and encounter the spirits of doctors who continue their twisted experiments on the living. The complex's sheer size means thousands of tortured souls roam these grounds, making it one of America's most haunted locations. 8. Greystone Park Psychiatric Hospital, New Jersey. This Kirkbride building opened in 1876 and closed in 2008, housing patients for over 130 years in conditions that would make hell seem merciful. The hospital's isolation rooms and electroshock therapy areas remain the most active paranormal hotspots, where tortured souls relive their medical nightmares. Visitors hear patients screaming from padded cells, see figures in straitjackets wandering the corridors, and experience sudden temperature drops that freeze the blood. The building's demolition in 2015 reportedly intensified the paranormal activity in surrounding areas, scattering angry spirits throughout the neighborhood. The hospital's basement morgue processes phantom bodies, and visitors report being touched by invisible hands. Former staff members' spirits continue their shifts, unaware that decades have passed since the hospital's closure, forever trapped in this cycle of medical horror. 9. Byberry Mental Hospital, in Philadelphia. Operating from 1903 to 1990, this facility became synonymous with patient abuse, neglect, and death, earning its reputation as America's most horrific asylum. The hospital's underground tunnels and abandoned buildings are filled with paranormal activity from thousands of tortured souls. Investigators report aggressive spirits attacking visitors, phantom medical procedures being performed on the living, and the sounds of patients being dragged across floors to their deaths. The site's demolition scattered its spirits throughout the surrounding neighborhood, making entire city blocks haunted. Former patients roam the ruins wearing hospital gowns, forever lost in their mental anguish. The hospital's morgue operates with supernatural energy, processing phantom bodies while visitors report being followed home by malevolent spirits. This location represents the darkest chapter in American mental health history, where humanity was abandoned. 10. Buffalo State Hospital, New York. This H. Richardson-designed asylum opened in 1880 and closed in 1974, its Gothic architecture housing thousands of patients who endured experimental treatments and barbaric conditions. The building's clock tower and underground tunnels are paranormal hotspots where time seems frozen in eternal suffering. Visitors encounter the spirit of a doctor who never stopped making his rounds, checking on patients who died decades ago. The hospital's basement held the most horrific experiments, where patients screamed for mercy that never came. Former patients call for help from empty rooms, and the sound of heavy doors slamming shut echoes through the night. The building's morgue processes phantom bodies, while visitors report being grabbed by invisible hands, This architectural masterpiece became a house of horrors where Gothic beauty masked unspeakable medical atrocities that continue to haunt the living.